Some people never loved who you were becoming. They only loved who you were when you doubted yourself. And the moment you started healing, growing, and standing on your own feet, their love began to disappear. Have you ever noticed how certain people become distant the moment you stop needing them? At first, it feels confusing. You tell yourself they must be busy. Maybe they're dealing with something. Maybe you're imagining it. But then a strange pattern begins to emerge. They were always there when you were broken, always there when you were uncertain, always there when you needed reassurance. Yet somehow, when you became stronger, calmer, more confident, they slowly pulled away. And that's when one of life's most painful lessons reveals itself. Not everyone who stands beside you wants to see you rise. Some people build their identity around your weakness. Your insecurity makes them feel important. Your dependence makes them feel needed. Your confusion makes them feel wise. And when you finally begin discovering your own strength, they experience your growth as a personal loss. This truth is difficult to accept because we naturally assume love wants the best for us. We assume affection means support. We assume closeness means loyalty. But life eventually teaches us that some relationships survive only as long as one person remains small. The moment that person expands, evolves, or awakens, the relationship begins to crack. Carl Jung once observed that people will do almost anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid confronting themselves. And sometimes the easiest way for someone to avoid their own emptiness is to keep you trapped inside yours. Tonight, we're exploring a lesson that changes everything once you understand it. Why some people secretly prefer your weakness, how to recognize the signs, and why losing these people may be one of the greatest blessings disguised as heartbreak. Because the day you stop needing their approval is often the day you discover your true power. Part 1. The comfort of your smallness. Most people imagine toxic relationships as obvious. They picture manipulation, control, and constant conflict. But some of the most dangerous relationships arrive disguised as care. The person constantly giving advice, the friend always rescuing you, the partner who insists they're only trying to help. On the surface, their actions seem loving. Yet beneath that kindness hides an uncomfortable truth. Their role in your life depends on your struggle. Imagine a doctor whose patients suddenly become healthy, a teacher whose students no longer need lessons, a guide whose followers no longer require directions. A healthy person celebrates this success. An insecure person fears it, because their value was never rooted in who they are. It was rooted in being needed, and many relationships operate this way. When you're lost, they feel important. When you're uncertain, they feel wise. When you're dependent, they feel powerful. Without realizing it, they become emotionally invested in your weakness. This doesn't always come from cruelty. Often, it comes from insecurity. Deep down, they fear that if you become strong enough, you'll discover you never needed them as much as they needed you. And so, subtle behaviors begin to appear. They discourage your ambitions. They question your decisions. They remind you of past failures. They plant seeds of doubt whenever confidence begins to grow. Not because they consciously hate you, but because your growth threatens the identity they've built around you. Nietzsche wrote that many people would rather cling to comfortable illusions than face difficult truths. One of those difficult truths is realizing that someone you trusted was attached to your wounds more than your healing. And when you finally understand this, everything changes. You stop asking why certain people disappear when you improve. You stop chasing explanations. You stop shrinking yourself to keep others comfortable. Because real love celebrates your expansion, only conditional love fears it. And that realization leads us directly into the second lesson, where we'll uncover the subtle signs that someone benefits from your self-doubt more than your success. Part 2. The hidden rewards people get from your insecurity. It's when they quietly benefit from its absence. Think about this. Why do some people seem strangely uncomfortable when good things start happening to you? Why do they become distant when you gain confidence? Why do their compliments suddenly sound forced? The answer is often hidden beneath the surface. Your insecurity was giving them something valuable, something they never wanted to lose. When you constantly doubted yourself, they became the voice of certainty. When you questioned every decision, they became the decision maker. When you felt lost, they became the hero of the story, and heroes don't always want the story to end. Because once the person they are saving no longer needs saving, they must face a frightening question. Who am I now? Many people build their entire identity around being needed. Not loved, not respected, needed. There is a difference. Love celebrates freedom. Need creates dependency. A healthy relationship says, I want you to become the strongest version of yourself. An unhealthy relationship whispers, I hope you never realize how strong you already are. This is why growth can make some people uncomfortable. Not because you've changed, but because your transformation forces them to confront what they were gaining from your weakness. Imagine a bird raised inside a cage. The cage owner claims to love the bird, feeds it, protects it, talks to it every day. But the moment the cage door opens and the bird prepares to fly away, panic appears. Suddenly, the owner realizes something. They never loved the bird's freedom. They loved possessing the bird. The same thing happens in human relationships. Some people love your dependence. Some people love your uncertainty. Some people love being the center of your emotional world. And when you begin standing on your own, they experience your independence as rejection. Carl Jung observed that everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. When someone resents your confidence, it often reveals their own insecurity. When someone fears your growth, it often exposes their own stagnation. When someone feels threatened by your success, it often reflects a battle happening inside them. And here's the heartbreaking part. Many of these people aren't consciously malicious. They're simply unconscious. They don't realize what they're doing. They only know that your evolution makes them uncomfortable. So they criticize, they compare, they discourage, they minimize your achievements. Not because you're failing, but because you're becoming someone they can no longer control. And once you recognize this pattern, you'll never see certain relationships the same way again. Because the next lesson reveals the clearest sign of all. The moment someone starts treating your healing like a threat. Part 3. When your healing becomes their threat. Because that discomfort reveals more than words ever could. There comes a moment in every transformation when something unexpected happens. The pain begins to lose its grip. The sleepless nights become less frequent. The anxiety grows quieter. The need for constant validation slowly fades. And for the first time in a long time, you begin trusting yourself. You begin listening to your own voice. You begin making decisions without asking for permission. You begin choosing your own path. Most people assume everyone around them will celebrate this moment. But life has a way of exposing hidden truths. As your healing grows, certain people become strangely restless. The friend who always had advice suddenly seems irritated. The partner who once claimed to support you becomes critical. The family member who used to comfort you now questions every step forward. At first, the change feels confusing. After all, isn't this what they wanted for you? Wasn't healing the goal? But healing changes power dynamics, and not everyone is prepared for that. When you were wounded, predictable patterns existed. People knew their role. They knew how to influence you. They knew how to guide your decisions. They knew how to remain emotionally important. But healing disrupts those patterns. A healed person becomes harder to manipulate. A confident person becomes harder to control. A self-aware person becomes harder to deceive. And for individuals who benefited from your weakness, this creates tension. Suddenly, they are interacting with someone new, someone who asks questions, someone who sets boundaries, someone who says no, someone who recognizes their own worth. The ancient philosopher Lao Tzu wrote, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." The tragedy is that not everyone wants to meet the person you are becoming. Some only feel comfortable with the version they could predict, the version they could influence, the version that depended on them. This is why your healing can feel lonely. Not because growth isolates you, but because growth reveals who was connected to your wounds rather than your soul. And perhaps the most painful realization of all is this: some people miss the old you, not because the old you was happier, but because the old you was easier to manage. The old you tolerated disrespect. The old you ignored red flags. The old you accepted less than you deserved. Your healing removes that access. And when access disappears, true intentions become visible. That's why healing is not only recovery, it's revelation. It shows you who genuinely loves you and who merely loved the version of you that made them feel powerful. Which brings us to the final lesson, the lesson that transforms heartbreak into freedom. The lesson that explains why losing certain people is not a punishment, it's a promotion. Part 4. Why losing these people is your greatest upgrade. There is a painful stage of growth that nobody talks about. It's the moment when you finally see people clearly, not who you hoped they were, not who they pretended to be, but who they truly are. And strangely, that clarity often hurts more than the original betrayal, because now you're not only grieving a person, you're grieving an illusion. The illusion that they wanted the best for you. The illusion that their support was unconditional. The illusion that your growth would strengthen the relationship. Instead, life reveals a difficult truth. Some connections survive only while one person remains limited. The moment you expand, evolve, and awaken, those connections begin to collapse. And while that collapse feels painful, it is often necessary. Imagine climbing a mountain. As you ascend, the air changes, the view changes, the terrain changes, and eventually some people who started the journey with you can no longer continue. Not because you're better than them, not because they're evil, but because you're headed toward different destinations. Many people spend years trying to keep everyone happy. They shrink their dreams, hide their intelligence, suppress their confidence, and dim their light. All to preserve relationships that were never built to survive their growth. But there is a hidden cost to staying small. Every day you betray your potential, a part of your spirit grows weaker. Every time you silence your voice to make others comfortable, you teach yourself that your truth is negotiable. Every time you abandon your growth to keep someone close, you pay for companionship with your future. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "And those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who could not hear the music." Growth often looks strange to people committed to staying the same. Your healing may confuse them, your confidence may intimidate them, your boundaries may frustrate them, your self-respect may offend them. But none of that means you're on the wrong path. In fact, it may be proof that you're finally on the right one, because real love does not fear your strength. Real friendship does not compete with your success. Real connection does not require your weakness. The people meant for your life will not ask you to become smaller so they can feel bigger. They will not punish you for healing. They will not resent your evolution. They will celebrate it. They will stand beside you as you rise. And if someone leaves because you discovered your worth, let them go, because anyone who only loved the wounded version of you was never truly in love with your soul. They were attached to your limitations. And limitations are not meant to be permanent. They are meant to be outgrown. So tonight, ask yourself one question. Who became uncomfortable when you started becoming stronger? Who seemed happier when you doubted yourself? Who encouraged your fears but questioned your confidence? The answers may hurt, but they will also set you free, because one of the greatest lessons life can teach is this: not everyone who enters your life is there to witness your transformation. Some arrive only to test whether you'll choose comfort over growth, whether you'll choose dependence over freedom. whether you'll choose their approval over your own truth. And sooner or later, every person faces that choice. The moment you stop living for approval, the moment you stop apologizing for your growth, the moment you stop shrinking to fit inside someone else's expectations, you become unstoppable. Not because life becomes easier, but because your value is no longer determined by who stays. It is determined by who you become. So if someone walked away when you healed, bless the lesson. If someone disappeared when you found your confidence, bless the lesson. If someone only loved your weakness, bless the lesson. Because they unknowingly gave you one of life's most valuable gifts, the opportunity to discover your strength. And once a person discovers their strength, they never have to beg for love again. They simply become the kind of person who refuses to settle for anything less than the real thing. If this message spoke to something deep inside you, remember this. Your growth is not a betrayal of others. Your healing is not selfish. Your strength is not something to apologize for. It is the person you were always meant to become.